What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. We're doing a Medicare educational video today. We're in between meetings, so we figured why not film a video in the middle of this park before we go to our next meeting. What we're gonna do today, we're gonna go over 3 really important questions that we got asked during the Q&A section of our Medicare 101 event. I think they're gonna be really helpful. So if you're watching this, maybe take some notes, write some of this stuff down, because it might be a question you've been asking yourself. All right, so the first one we got: what is the difference between a Medicare Advantage PPO plan and a Medicare supplement plan? They may seem really similar when you look at them from a helicopter's point of view, but when you zoom in, they do have their differences, all right? So I'm gonna write this out. The first one, Medicare Advantage, prescription drug plan, PPO. Then you have your Medicare supplement plan. It's also known as Medigap. I'm gonna write that here because that's how it fits. So one of the major differences between the two is going to be your access to doctors. It's really common when you're on a PPO plan on individual insurance before you go into Medicare to think of the PPO plan as the plan that has the most access to doctors, which it is traditionally. But when you get onto Medicare, Medicare supplement plans are actually going to give you more access to doctors, because the Medicare supplement plan, and a quick side note, if you're watching this right now, we have another video that goes through all the parts of Medicare and the plan options, all right? That'll be listed here somewhere on the screen. But the Medicare supplement plans, Medigap plans, you're gonna have original Medicare as your primary. Part of that, it's gonna give you nationwide access to any doctor in the United States that takes original Medicare. You have all of the US. You can have a doctor in California, you can have a doctor all the way over in Florida if you want, if that's where you want your doctors to be. But your access to doctors will be wider with the Medicare supplement plan. You'll have access to the US. With the Medicare Advantage PPO plans, the insurance company is gonna be your primary, all right? So you'll have maybe access to a specific region, but you're gonna have a network of doctors. You're gonna have a network of doctors under the PPO plan that the insurance company is gonna dictate which doctors are considered in network. So that's one of the major differences, is your access to doctors. And also the price of the plan might be a difference. It depends on your zip code, your state, where you live, but you might find that the Medicare supplement plan might be a higher premium in exchange for more access to doctors, but it depends on your zip code. So you really wanna look into that first. Another difference between the two plans might be some of the extra bells and whistles that are going to come with the plans. Medicare supplements by design are only designed to cover your medical. You have parts A and B, that's original Medicare. Part B covers 80% of your medical expenses. So remember that here. Part B covers 80%. The Medicare supplements are usually designed to cover the other 20%, depending on the plan you pick. So you have your co-insurance covered with the Medigap plan. Now, back to the bells and whistles. They're just designed to cover your medical. Sure, some insurance companies, you can also buy dental, you can buy vision, you can buy extra stuff on top of it, but the Medicare Advantage plans, they tend to come with extra bells and whistles inside of the plan. Things that original Medicare does not cover. So that would be things like your dental, things like your vision, things like your hearing, so on and so forth. Those might come with the Medicare Advantage plans. The Medicare supplement plans by design, they don't come with those things out of the box. Traditionally, you're just gonna have your medical coverage and more access to doctors. All right, so those are the two major differences. If you go through the actual benefits of the plans, there's probably a lot of differences, but these are really the two main ones from a helicopter's point of view. So the next question we got was a person that was already on Medicare, and they said, hey, my spouse is turning 65, should they go into the same plan I have? And the answer to that is depends on the plan. So let me explain. You have traditionally 2 major options. You have your Medicare Advantage plans, which that's gonna be Part C of Medicare. Then you have, just like we went over earlier, your Medigap plans. All right. Now, it depends on which plan you have. If you're already on Medicare and you have a Medicare Advantage plan, and your spouse is turning 65, they're going on to Medicare for the first time, and you have a Medicare Advantage plan, you need to do a comparison first before they go into the same plan as you. Here's what you need to check. First, you need to look at, do you have the same doctors? Every insurance company does not take every single doctor. So you need to make sure your spouse's doctors are in network with the plan, and not just the primary, but specialists, hospitals, anyone you want access to, make sure they're a part of that plan. The next one, and probably one of the most important ones as well, is gonna be your prescriptions. Ran out of space, but you get what I'm saying. Prescriptions. Formularies are all different. Not every formulary is the same across the board for insurance companies. You could love your plan and your prescriptions could be zero copay, but your spouse, if they take different medications, maybe they're not generic. If they take brand name medications, they could be hundreds, if not thousands of dollars per year on the same plan as you. So you wanna make sure you do a check. Find the plan that has the doctors and network and has the prescriptions covered. If it just so pans out that the same exact plan makes sense, then go for it. But if not, find a company, find a plan that fits your specific needs if you have a Medicare Advantage plan. Now, the answer is different. If you have a Medigap plan or a Medicare supplement plan, let's just say you have the Plan G Medicare supplement, then I would say yes, absolutely your spouse should go into the same plan as you. Because not every company does this, but some will. If you go into the same exact insurance company and the same exact plan letter. So let's just say you have ABC company for your Plan G Medicare supplement, and your spouse joins also with ABC company and also gets a Plan G, then you will maybe get a household discount. Sometimes up to 5, maybe even 7% off of your premiums for going into the same plan. So it depends on the plan. Sometimes it's a yes, sometimes it's a no. But make sure you do your research before you make that decision. All right, and the third and final question, if I stick with my employer plan beyond the age of 65, will I get a penalty through Part B of Medicare? The answer is, it depends. Now I'm gonna explain when you get it and when you might not get it. So to avoid the penalty, you're gonna have to ask your employer 2 questions to make sure. So let's run through it. Here's the questions. Number 1, you need to ask your employer, are you required to sign up for Part B of Medicare or not? If you were required to sign up for Part B of Medicare and you did not, when you do go into Medicare at some point in the future, you'll incur a penalty. So Part B is the first question, are you required to sign up for Part B of Medicare? The next question, do you have what's considered creditable coverage through your employer? All right. Creditable coverage. Do you have creditable coverage through your employer, which essentially is the equivalent of what Medicare would have offered you? Now, I want to remind you guys, ask these 2 questions, but if you were required to sign up for Part B and you did not, you may incur a penalty. If you did not have credible coverage through your employer and you do go on to Medicare at some point in the future, you'll incur a penalty. And your employer will know the answer to these 2 questions because they actually are required to provide documentation on if you had creditable coverage. All right. Now, on the other side of the coin, if you go beyond the age of 65 and you were not required to sign up for Part B of Medicare, then you're golden. You won't receive a penalty there if also you had creditable coverage through your employer. So these 2 things are going to make sure you're set up for success and you can keep your employer coverage beyond the age of 65. But I do want to point something out. If you have coverage through your employer and you're in this wrestling match going back and forth trying to figure out if you should keep the plan or if you should go into Medicare, do an apples to apples comparison between the 2. If you've been paying into Medicare most likely your whole working life, you might now have the opportunity to find a plan that has maybe more access to doctors, maybe it covers your prescriptions better, maybe the cost of the insurance is less. Do a comparison between the 2 options and set yourself up for success. All right, you guys, that's the end of the video. Make sure to pay it forward. If you got value from this, send it to somebody who needs to see it, and like and subscribe and stick around because we're going to be posting a ton of content coming up.